everybody, this is Kim Klaver, and this is going to be a short and I hope sweet introduction to the Helper Healer Marketing Program. Who is the Helper Healer Marketer Program for? It's for people who don't want to act all salesy. That's one of the primary things. People who do not want to act salesy or be perceived as salesy. Here's the second characteristic of the person for whom this program is designed. Somebody who thinks about helping people before they think about the money. And this sounds, you may think, well, most everybody thinks about helping before they think about the money. But if you think about how you recruit for people, how you look for people, especially for the recruiting side of the business, don't we all lead with, I have a way to make some money? So clearly that puts in the mind of the listener, this is about the money, not about the helping. And so if you're truly a helper healer, you think about helping people before you think about the money, and that's going to have to be reflected in the way you market. People who want to make money doing what they love. And this is one of the most important things. I have been thinking this and preaching it to everyone who will listen for probably as long as I've been in business, that if you don't love what you're doing, you won't stick with it long enough to master it. People who quit don't quit because they're not any good. They quit because they don't love what they're doing. Now, they may love the product, they may love being an entrepreneur, they may love their upline, their downline, their company, but the things that they're being asked to do or told to do by whoever is in the upline or corporate or whoever is telling them what to do, they don't want to do those things. And many times that has to do with selling the money, selling how easy it is, selling how anyone can do it, and a lot of people are not comfortable with that, so they don't love it. And they don't do it. And I think, when I hear people say, well, if people would just start doing stuff instead of complaining, they would all make a lot of money. The upline tend to blame the people who are the downline. Well, they're dead downline. They don't do anything. They don't do anything because they don't want to do what they're being told to do. And if that is you, and if the reason is that you prefer focusing on helping people first and the money second, this is the program that's for you. I want to tell you two stories that you may not know. Who else is like that? Who else thinks about helping before they think about the money? Who else thinks about doing something better for someone else before they think about the income that's going to come to their pocket? And I want to tell you that the two biggest companies today, Google and Apple, two of the most loved companies, two of the most admired companies, two of the companies that if anyone is going to dream they could be like, these are the two companies that most people want to be like. But they were both started by guys who had no money. The Google founders, there are marvelous books about them, but they were graduates at Stanford, and they had no money when they began Google. And here was their goal when they first got started. They wanted to get better search results than Yahoo and Excite got. If any of you are old enough to remember, Yahoo used to be the big search engine, and they had Excite and Alta Vista. And these guys thought that the search results that came up when somebody would search for, say, I don't know, encyclopedias, the search results weren't very good. And for those of you who may remember, in the early days when I was also around, we paid $500 to Yahoo to be considered for a spot in the results at the top right of the page. So whoever paid the most got to appear the first. Well, that was fine for the search engines because, of course, they got money hand over fist. Everybody wanted to be first when somebody searches for, say, cars or encyclopedias or books or CDs. They want to be first. So everybody goes to them. But the people who paid the most were not necessarily the best people. So the goal of the Google guys was to say, well, how can we make results that we as consumers on the other end can trust? And so that's what they focused on, and they offered, the goal they had was to make the search function be something that people at the other end, namely their customers, would trust. And the algorithm they came up with was the results are going to be ordered basically in terms of the number, the first ones to show when you search for anything, the first results that are going to show in the center of the page, what they call the organic results, are going to be the ones that have the most incoming links. That is to say, most people on the result that's first has more references to it than any other result, based on the crowds that are using the internet. And that is basically how they do their results. So not who pays the most, but who has the most people linking to them because they're the most useful. And they thought, well, you know, we'll offer that to people and see if anybody else wants it also. That was their first goal. And then we'll see if it makes any money. And you can think about this now when you think about Google. Most of you probably use it. Do they sound salesy when they pitch whatever, their search services? Do you get the impression that they push people to buy? None of those things as far as I know. And yet they are super rich and they're super successful. All right, now the other story is the story of Apple, of course. One of my favorite stories, and today, you know, kind of a sad story, of course. But in the beginning, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had no money. They started in Steve Jobs' garage. And at a talk Steve Jobs gave at Stanford a few years ago, he said he was so poor that he used to sell bottles when he was at Reed College to get the deposits, bring the deposits back so that he could make enough money to eat during the week. And once a week he would go to the Hare Krishna Center and eat his one good meal for the week, and he walked across town 6 miles to do that once a week. Neither of them had any money. And his goal, the two of them, was to make a better and more user-friendly computer. That was the idea. How could we make a computer that's better than what there is? Same goal as Google. How can we make search results better than what there is, right? And if you ask yourself, does Apple sound salesy? Do they seem like pushy people? Do you hear Apple telling them how great their product is? You look at their website. I mean, you will find no better example of marketing by not telling people how great their product is, not telling people how everything else sucks in comparison. They don't do any of that. You know what happens instead? People are lined up. I mean, for the last 4 years, the iPod, the iPhone 3, the iPhone 4, the iPads, people lined up around the world. So who is it that is talking about how great the products are? It's the people who use them, the users. People tell their friends how great Apple's products are. And so the focus is on improving something they love. That was the focus of the two Google boys, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, and it was the focus of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. And in my opinion, there's no reason we can't do the same thing. Because the helper healer, who is a helper healer? It's somebody who wants to focus on improving how we market. Because if you don't want to be salesy and you don't want to come across as salesy and pushy, then you have to change how you market. And so you ask yourself, for your network marketing right now, part of that word is marketing, is the marketing that you're doing or that you're being encouraged to do, is that who you are? And if it's not, the helper healer approach might be something you want to consider if you're a helper healer. So let me just give you a quick run through for some of the modules that we've got. Module 1 is how not to be a pushy salesperson. There are 8 modules in the program, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. How not to be a pushy salesperson is the first part. Second, very cute little thing on how never to hear it's too expensive. You really can set yourself up so you never hear that again. And it comes from learning how to be a really cool wow marketer and a helper healer marketer. Another part of Module 1 is the Wizard of Wow. We show you how you can use the language that Steve Jobs has used to market your products, obviously. And then the best 5-minute marketing video on the planet is there just as a little bonus for people, and it's transcribed. And Steve Jobs describes how he wanted to market, and he said the way we're going to become great is not by telling the world how great we are, not by telling how we're better than Windows, and 3, not by talking the technology of the product. And those are things that network marketers, especially helper healers, can take to heart, because you don't want to tell everybody how your stuff is greater than everyone else, because only salespeople do that. That's how we know it's a salesperson. And talking too much technology is incomprehensible to people outside the company. And if Steve Jobs, who is #1 in marketing today, said that's how not to do it 20 years ago, why would we do it today? Look where he is. And then there's a wonderful little video about Mr. Rogers. He got $20 million in 6 minutes. And the pieces of his language are analyzed in there in the Helper Healer program in Module 1. This is all in Module 1. So you can see exactly how someone like Mr. Rogers is also a helper healer. Help first, right? Money later. Because he was so persuasive in a few words that you can see and you can use, that he got his $20 million in, I don't even think it was 6 minutes, and 2 minutes of that was them introducing him. So You can use the same approach. You can use the same kinds of words, because if you're coming from the heart, if you have a helper healer heart and you love your program and your product, you can use exactly the same words and come across with a better way to market for who you are. All right, Module 2, this is a story about Vicki Link, our co-host right now, how she pulled off a live event where she got 70 confirmed people. Took her 7 weeks, so this is not over the weekend, but 96 people showed up. Now, how do you do that? In most cases, nobody shows up. Module 2 is how you can wow with a product that's really not a wow product. That is to say, if you have a product that takes a few weeks to work, it's not going to be an instant wow, like, ooh, look what happened. So you can also wow people if you have a product that takes a little longer time to work, or if you have a product that's not a health product at all. You might be selling services like alternatives to gas and electric, okay, or jewelry. Module 3 is using the mastermind to get to wow. One of the big things at Steve Jobs' Apple company is they have little pods, groups of people who constantly mastermind about the minutest things. And that's why when you get the new iPhone, or you get the new whatever of theirs you've got, children 3 and 4 and 5 years old who've never seen an iPad start using it as if they were born with it. And it's that focus on these tiny little things that we can show you how to do. You can get as tiny as you want in the way you market, so that when you open your mouth, people go, wow, that's it. Why not? And you see, when you focus on the money, you can't do that, because right away people are alerted, oh, this is a salesperson. She wants me to come so she can sell me. Do I want to be sold Saturday afternoon? Well, I don't know, maybe not. Module 3, what's the language? How do you talk to people? How do you invite them? What do you say at the event? How do you quote unquote close people? A word which is, I think, just shows you the mentality, the hunter mentality. Let's go and get them and shoot them and close them and then drag them home and say, look, this is what I got. This is not the way it works in today's economy. It's also not how women do stuff. Women are not hunters. They are the savers. They're collaborators. And it's a very different approach when you learn what your last word should be, that are encouraging and allow people to make choices rather than them feeling like they're being closed and surrounded like a small beast with 15 hunters. And I would tell you that a lot of people feel like that at our meetings. Module 4, how to create a wow event. This is a marvelous thing to be able to do. And these are, the classes show you how, and then you try it, and you try it, and you try it, and you try it, and do it over and over and over, and pretty soon you've got one, and you're going to hear from some people who've done that. Module 5, how to start with your iPod. There will be something that you do better than anyone else, and it might be a way that you present, it might be a product that you've got, it might be the way you do your business, and you start with that. I can tell you that when the Apple companies, when they started, they had Macintosh, they had the computer, the Apple computer, and when they came up on the iPod, I think it was 2004, it was basically a Walkman on steroids and drugs. On the Walkman, you would put a CD in there or a little audio tape, and you could hear like 10 songs. When the iPod came out, it was even smaller than a Walkman, and the line was 1,000 songs in your pocket. And people went, what? The most they ever had was 12, maybe 15 on a CD. What do you mean 1,000 songs in your pocket? And it was such a wild jump. And the pundit said he won't sell any iPods. They're $400. Who's going to pay $400 for a Walkman when they're normally 100 or 69 or whatever they used to be? And of course they sold, I forget, 200 million iPods, and people realized, oh wow, when you make something that is that much better, people want to have it. Well, as a result of that iPod, people said, well gosh, what else do you make? And Apple's computer sales went up 30 or 40% every year after they introduced the iPod. Why? Because people go, oh wow, that iPod is awesome. What else do you guys make? Oh, you have computers? Oh, how cool. So when you have that product that is your very favorite, or the way you market, you lead with it, because then people will go, gosh, what else do you do? What else do you have? In the same way that Apple's computer sales shot up because of an iPod. That's the little audio player. Okay. Module 7 is the Chinese Mother's Advantage, and I'm not going to tell you any more about this, but this is really something very interesting. Module 8 is how to wow versus sell. So it's really like Apple and Google. And the program that we're running right now is the helperhealermarketer.com. I think most of you have that website and you've seen it. That's the program that we're talking about right now. We started the program several months ago, and we have about 250 people in it right now. And we're starting up the next phase of the program. It's a permanent program, what they call evergreen. We're not going to be shutting it down ever because people have issues come up and their lives are set back a couple of months, no problem. The sequences are there, the videos, the audios, the transcriptions, everything is available in every format that you could want. So you can take it home and read it, you can put it on your own iPod, you can watch it on your TV, you can do whatever you want because all the media are there to help you become a successful helper, healer, marketer instead of staying where you are. And we do live monthly calls every Saturday, the last Saturday of the month, and we're starting them up again September 24. And all of you who sign up for the program today are invited to be part of that. In addition, you'll be part of the group of helper healers. We have a giant discussion board around every topic in the program, and we have many times 100 comments on one area, and people help each other constantly. So it's a wonderful thing to be part of that. And the third thing about the program is Vicki or I contact every single person personally with a private phone call to kind of see how you're doing and see what we can do to help you. So this is one of the only programs I know of where the so-called gurus who run it actually are not only accessible, but reach out and call you, okay? Because we want helper healers to become super duper awesome, successful. Why shouldn't helper healers have obnoxious money in our field? Google has it and Apple has it, and I can tell you they started as helper healers. They wanted to fix a problem first to their own satisfaction, and then they offered it to other people, and lo and behold, people loved it. Neither of them went into business to make money. They didn't. They wanted to build the best computer or come up with a better whatever it is that they had. And when your goal is to come up with a way to market like a true helper healer, and I'll give you some examples at the end here, it's just a wonderful feeling. People see you as a totally different person instead of, oh, there she comes again, trying to sell me something. All right, so for the next 8 months, we have monthly calls coming up starting September 24. So there'll be a live one every Saturday, and we record those. And like I said, you get a personal call from me or Vicki to help you with your business as it relates to the program that we've got. All right, now a special bonus for people. We did this the first time, and I didn't think I was going to do it, but I thought, well, we'll do it this time. For people who sign up with the Helper Healer program today, you are going to get a copy of the Customer Enchilada program. That is a program that has helped probably thousands of people now learn how to build a customer base. And that's not to say they don't want to recruit or they can't recruit. It's just that when recruiting is difficult because people are not responding, when you don't feel comfortable recruiting, because what's the way you recruit? Well, do you want to make $5,000 to $10,000 a month? Do you want to make some extra money? Most people have not made money in network marketing. That's why 95% of the folks drop out. Why? Because they spend more than they make. And for many people, it's very difficult to keep pitching. Do you want to, come into the business, make some money of your own, have a business of your own, when they themselves are not making any money? So one of the things we found over the years when I surveyed the 80% women in the business, when I surveyed my own students is, what do you like doing? Well, they like helping. Well, what does that mean? Well, I like helping people with my product. I really get a kick when somebody takes my product and their pain goes away. Or somebody takes my supplement and they get their energy back. Or somebody uses my skincare and my gosh, their wrinkles seem to thin out. Or they got their energy back. It turns me on to do that. So we thought, well, there's money in customers, and most pay plans have some way that you can make money on customers. And so we tested a giant customer program. It's 100 customers, 100 days. And sometimes if you know how to build a customer base, that is, people who are using the product and aren't necessarily selling it. That's what a customer is, somebody who uses it and doesn't sell it. And if you get, say, $10 a customer and you have a $50 product, and you end up getting, say, 50 customers in a year, you're making $500 a month, whether you need it or not. 50 customers a year times $10, that's $500 a month, right? Every single month from a customer base. And if you end up, you want to do 100 customers, let's say, like the lady in the New York Times, she's 67. It was a marvelous story. Her husband dumped her for the secretary. She was 67, he was 65, the secretary was, 31. And they had never separated all this time. And the woman, you know, did things in the community and blah, blah, blah. And she said he left and she didn't even know how to pay the mortgage. And it's not that she was stupid. She just did other things that she knew how to do really well. And she said, if I had known that he would ever do this to me, just leave for the secretary, she said, I would have found something that I could do 1 or 2 hours a week, 5 hours a week, so that I could have built something up of my own. So when this happened, I wouldn't be out here on the street basically with a judge telling me at 67, well, why don't you go and get some new skills for yourself? You know, go and get retrained. When he said that she couldn't get much of an alimony because I forget what the reason was. I guess the husband argued that he'd supported her his whole life. And you know, if she'd done, say, 50 customers a year over those 40 years that she was married, she would have had 40 years, 2,000 customers. And if she were to earn $10 on each one, she'd have had $20,000 a month over those 40 years that she'd had. That's quite a bit more than Social Security. So it doesn't mean that it always has to be this slow, but there's money in customers. Remember, Apple is all customers. Google is all customers. They don't have any recruits. So it's a way to stay in the business, doing what you love. And this program helped the gal in Indiana so change the style of her business and the whole group down there. She did like $1,500 extra in volume in 1 month over there. So it's this comes on the house with the program, okay? So that's a bonus that you get, and as soon as you sign up for the program, you will obviously get the bonus. We'll send it to you as an MP3. And I wanted to, in closing, read you something from Steve Jobs that I think will mean a lot, especially since probably most of you know that he had to resign as CEO from Apple because of his cancer, which has gotten bad enough so that he really cannot be CEO of the company anymore. And he's still chairman of the company, so obviously, hopefully, we all hope he's calling the shots on the new products that are coming out. But this is something that he said at the Stanford convention. There are two little stories that he has that I want to close this out with. Steve Jobs got fired from Apple, the company he founded about 20 years ago, and he said, I was pretty sure that none of these good things he talked about before would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. He said, sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. I'm sure that's true for some of you, so I'm just reading this for that purpose. Don't lose faith, he says. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going is that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for your work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. And the last quote from him, he says, your time here is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuitions. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. I have Vicki Link on the call, who has a couple of folks who are in the Helper Healer program right now, one of whom is in Norway, and I believe it's 2 or 3 a.m. over there, who we just wanted you to hear what some of the things are that are happening to people in the class who came in as helper healers and didn't know that there was a place for them in network marketing until they came into the program. So Vic, let me pass it to you.
Yes. Kristen, are you there? So what I want you to do is tell everybody how long you've been in network marketing and what your before and after was. So before you were in the Helper Healer group, what was happening with your events, guests that were coming, and your sales? And then what happened after you ran your very first WOW event? Tell us about what the contrast was.
Okay, I've been in network marketing almost 8 years. I've been working not with a lot of events really. A few home parties. I never really wanted to do home parties. That's from the very beginning. So I've done mostly one-to-ones, and I've tried to work mostly with the business angle. But then I heard about this, and I thought this is very interesting. Gives me some more things to play with, and previously I never had more than maybe about $700 maximum on my so-called events. On my first WOW event earlier this summer, I had about 22 people invited, 15 sales, $3,000 turnover in one night.
Was that surprising to you?
It was very, yeah, well, it was, some of it was surprising, but and I think what the Help a Healer program did for me that nothing else had done was it showed me in detail how to prepare, what words to use, how to make the invitation. I made a lot of preparations, and I can use them again and again, and that's what drove it through, really. The very, very good help in preparing this thing.
Well, thank you. And I don't know if we mentioned this, but every person that's a helper healer in the community gets something called a WOW planner. It's 8 pages. It's a downloadable PDF file, and it's like a wedding planner. And it will tell you what she was just talking about. What do you do on the invite? How do you do the invite? What is the setting? And you know, every little particular nuance of anything that you need to put into a celebration, festivity place where people want to go and sit, and how you can enchant them so they do the WOW. And thank you so much for coming and telling us your story. And I want to call on Dr. Quila now. Dr. Quila, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
in the
great.
meantime, you know, Quila, before you begin, I want to be sure that everybody can get to the link, the helperhealermarketer.com, because we had a couple people ask about the price of the program. If you go to helperhealermarketer.com, the way it shows on the screen there, you will see what the program cost is. So I want to be sure. Are you able to get onto that link, you guys? Great, great. Yes, please, Dr. Quila.
Tell us first a little bit about your background and how long you've been in network marketing. And a little
Okay,
bit
well, I've been a nurse for 40-plus years and frustrated, so I went and got a PhD in acupuncture and homeopathy and Chinese medicine because I never saw very many people getting well. And as now I know I'm a helper healer. I didn't know what was wrong with me for many years, but I've been in the networking business for about 7 years and never made much money. I was doing what my upline said. I didn't always feel comfortable doing it. In fact, some of it I felt very awkward about, some of the word choices and some of the things I was encouraged to do. So I saw a presentation that Kim did a couple years ago and started reading her Orange Book and some of her, listening to her tapes, and realized that, number one, I don't have to necessarily do what my upline says. First of all, I am a woman, and that's 80% of our business, and all of my upline are male, and they were all encouraging me to go after the business end of it, when really I found my money was disappearing simply because I was helping so many people, just trying to help them get well. That was my urge. That was my reason for being here. So after listening to some of her tapes and so on, and then when she offered the Helper Healer course, and the explanation of it fit me to a T. I'm the type of person that I'm much more interested in seeing somebody get well than making money. Although I found you can't keep that up very long if you're not making any money. So of course I wanted to make money, but I didn't want to do it the way I was being encouraged to. So I have, over the last year or so, been much more successful at my business. And a few weeks ago, I got an invite to do a coffee, a very early AM coffee. And so it wasn't like I had to send out the invitations. I just had to go to this coffee, and I was able to then present my product and have a little table. And when I walked in at 6:30, the lady said, okay, here's the way it works, and when I call on you, I'll introduce you, and then you have 4 minutes. And I went to myself, oh my gosh, I usually do an hour-long presentation, a good half hour of talking about the product because it is a little different. It's a little technical, and I usually present that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just going to have to show them how it works, because that's usually the way I would end up my presentation. So I stood up after she introduced me, and I said, okay, anybody in pain? By the way, there were 300 people plus in the room, and I almost got stampeded over, people lining up, because how many people do you know that don't have pain? And so I said, okay, I'm just really going to quickly, and this was all on microphone, just take these little gadgets here and put them on your pain. Where's your pain? How bad is it? Put it on. Okay, now how's your pain? And get feedback real quickly. So in 4 minutes, I got 3 people 90% plus out of pain. So then I announced real quickly I'd be glad to see anyone else, because of course many people did not get patched, and they then came up afterwards. As a result, I had a big list of people that wrote their names and emails and phone numbers down, and many of them said they wanted to have a party. And I've since then done 3 presentations in this little retirement community. I have gotten buku sales, mainly from just showing them how it works. Most of them could care less what the technology is. And I'm getting referrals from them all over the country because, of course, their daughter lives in Ohio and their grandson's down in Phoenix and so on. So it was a super experience for me to learn as a helper healer, I don't need to go into the details. Just give them a wow.